Howdy, everybody. This is Thomas Talbert with the Austin Market Pulse podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, Mr. Chris Hayward. Chris, how the hell have you been, man? It's been too long.
I've been great. The business has been improving, and I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to. We were in the green room catching up and getting to hear a little bit more about your business. Funnily enough, we met while I was interviewing for a separate job. You interviewed for that job. You were way too good for it, and sadly, I couldn't hire you. But man, but we've been keeping tabs on each other ever since. I think like once a year we ping each other to see what's going on, and I reached out to you to have you on the pod. And there's a lot that's been happening since we last spoke. Can you start off by saying what has been what you were doing when we first met, what your real estate background has been thus far, and then of course we'll get into what you're doing now, which is also really exciting. So Chris, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate the last 6 years. I got involved in acquisitions, which is the acquirement of distressed real estate for investors, and that system and that kind of knowledge of locating deals, running rehabs, connecting with agents who has these deals and learning how to acquire is a great skill set. And also it's a machine. In order to get one deal, you often have to offer on 10 a week. And so it was great in that long game because a lot of times you're offering on a property, not necessarily just to get the house. Sometimes you're just doing it to make a connection and to plant that seed and play the long game. Hey, I know this one may not be the one, but I want you to keep in mind, if you get anything, keep me in mind type stuff. And so did that for 4 years, then left and got my hands dirty doing some of the remodel work, doing some investor flips. And then from there, it expanded to actually me being a general contractor for some colleagues. And then it just expanded now. So now I have my remodeling company called Aeromark Homes. We're staying busy doing renovations for investors and homeowners. And then I'm still an agent. So I'm still doing some deals, still doing some leasing, still doing some retail in the area, Austin area.
Oh, that's fantastic. And originally, when I initially connected with you, you were working with Net Worth Realty, which, funnily enough, I had Jordan Bertrand on the podcast, who's with Net Worth now. But then you were doing basically some flipping for them. You were finding the deal, sourcing the deal, and doing that. And you were telling me a little bit about how you found these distressed properties. Can you give us some insight on how you were able to find these distressed properties that you could then flip and get your premium price tag on?
Yeah, most of the deals that you're going to find are from agents, believe it or not. Sometimes they don't want to sell these houses on the market. And so having those connections, they need to know that you're looking for these type of deals. And then you need to check in with them frequently, every couple months, couple days. Hey, I just want to let, hey, I'm in the market for these type of properties. If you see any, shoot them my way. Let me know. And so that's what I was doing at Net Worth. And so when I started doing the contractor thing, I began to still get those opportunities sent to me. And so just that network, and that cannot be bought. I had to really earn that. So I'm very proud of it. And it's amazing how it continues to send opportunities my way. Yeah.
All those years later, you build up the floodgates, and when it breaks, it just keeps going. That's awesome. It's is Tev type of stuff. For me over here at Prime Properties, and I am still very much on the forefront of that. That floodgate hasn't quite broken yet, but we'll get there. God willing. But really cool. And so you were doing that to help investors get into some properties and buy some homes, and you have since worked your way into becoming a contractor yourself. What was it when you were that made you get interested in doing the contracting itself? I know that you were talking a little bit about there's some bad, I won't say bad apples, they don't do it meaningly, but people who don't necessarily understand the cost or what it actually takes to flip a home.
Sure.
What's the what was the moment in there you're like, you know what, these people are doing it wrong and I can do it better?
The first thing is it really depends on who and how you're taught the remodeling game. I just so happen my mentor just so happened to be somebody who GCs his own projects. But he was perfect for me because he doesn't necessarily lift the hammer either. But when I say he GCs, I mean we literally bring in tons of vendors. We bid everything out and get the project done by outsourcing with several different companies and tradesmen. And so what that is, it's a lot more work than bringing in your own GC, but you're able to get a lot more margin because you're not paying the markup. And so it all began of, again, doing investment properties, but being the GC for my own project. And that, I remember my first project, it literally took me a month to get a full rehab because I was calling so many vendors over to the house. But luckily, it was my first flip was my best friend's grandma's house. So I had time to get in the house and get bids, and they were nice. Hey, I got somebody coming over there. Can you let me get the price? And so all that stuff and doing it yourself allows you to find out what your real cost is. Oh, you may think somebody's high, but then you get 2 more bids and you find out that was actually the cheaper one. And then you find out what market rate is. You know what I mean? And then you might find this place in Austin has doors, but then you find out another place in Houston that has doors that are so cheap, it's worth driving to Houston. Just so many things that you find from doing the GC stuff yourself. But a lot of people don't have the job and the time that they're allowed to do that. But I'm grateful that I do have that time that I can do the job myself. And that means a lot of accountability, but I'm cool with that because if the project is gonna go, it's up to me.
It's going to put it all on your shoulders. That's what I loved about you from the beginning, Chris, is like, yeah, come hell or high water, it's going to get done and it's going to be on my back. I'm not letting anyone else hitch that trailer. And I do that. It's always been great. And to take you back on what you said on, you got to get a bunch of bids and do that. We found some good vendors over the years over here at Prime Properties, but the sad part is there are people like, how do you find these guys? Man, you got to kiss a bunch of frogs before you find a good one. It is crazy how many you go through to really find someone that you like.
Yes, and just because a vendor is good today doesn't mean they will be good 2 years from now, because they go through life and they go through divorce, and I have vendors be in jail, and I've had them just disappear, no call, no show, and work is amazing. And so it's always, even though I have good vendors, you never know. And so you always need to keep that Rolodex of I'm always open to another plumber. I'm always open to another electrician because also they get busy too. And they may get busy with projects outside of the city where they can't do it. Now, what do you do? So the vetting process always starts with people who who have done the work first. It always starts there. Who do you know you've worked with that can do the job well? And then from there, it can expand depending on your level of risk. If you don't have a lot of risk, I'm sorry, when you don't want to risk a lot, gonna have to pay more because some of these bigger companies are a little bit more buttoned up in their processes and things like that. And that comes with a cost that you for sure know the work is going to get done or may have a warranty, a labor warranty or something like that. And then there's certain trades where you don't need to pay a lot and anybody could do it depending on what it is. So understanding where you need to pay premium and where you don't need to pay a premium, and you can really get somebody maybe not as good, or you can do a quality product and have anybody come install it. Makes all factors that you need to think about when you're trying to look for somebody.
Man, I can think of a dozen property owners that I've talked about. They've got 1, 2, 3, even 5 rental properties, but that isn't enough volume, like you said, to keep a vendor or a contractor keep up their appetite. You got to have a volume of work to be able to have the at bats to be able to say, okay, on this project I can afford to let's try the other electrician this time, let's see what happens there, so that you can mix and match what you feel like you like and get a good price, rather than you're just going to have to pay, like you said, someone who's got a company shirt on that's going to be real buttoned up. When you don't have that much work to do, it's so hard to try and find to have the time or the bandwidth to find those vendors that are going to be cheaper than what those retail guys are going to be able to charge. Now,
Yes.
like outside of having the work, like just the loads of work that both you and I benefit from having a contracting business or having a bunch of properties that we manage, et cetera. How do you think people, how would you suggest people find those contractors who are still good, but you're not paying the shirt, the button down shirt tax, if you will?
If you know anybody who's doing any type of remodel work in the city or anybody who's in construction in the area, they're gonna know a lot of people. And they're probably gonna know somebody, a tradesman, somebody. They're gonna know a plumber, electrician, a painter that they could just refer you to. That's probably not a guy from Sherwin-Williams or something who's gonna do that. So that it always starts with there. And then there's also groups on Facebook. Actually, they closed that group down. It used to be a big group called Contractor Underground, where it had 40,000 people in there. And you could just type in there, hey, here's my kitchen. I'm looking for somebody to put some backsplash and some cabinets. And you get 20 people, 20 tradesmen who will write you right in there. And then from there, how do you vet? Okay, who has a website? Who doesn't have a website? Who actually can send me an invoice? You know what I mean? That doesn't mean you're not a good guy, because trust me, I got guys who couldn't touch a computer. But again, if you're looking for something, you're looking for a home run, you want to for sure know. Sometimes the person who's a little bit more buttoned up is going to do the right service and give you what you need, quality in a fast manner. Yeah.
Right. But no, that risk factor that you mentioned where you're in the green room is something to consider too. Is it worth paying the premium just to know that you've got Sherman-Williams or B, because you know it's going to get done, they have a guarantee, but you're going to pay that premium, and it depends on what your appetite is. Sure. I want to.
And, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go
so yeah, so things behind the wall, things under the ground. That's things on top of the house. That's where you pay a premium a little bit more. Things where it's gonna take expensive to remove. That's where you want to kind of lean towards not risky. If my painter messes up and he misses something, I can just see it and I can be like, go over that again. Or door trim, certain things, it's just so much easier to be like, all right, that's fine, I can see it. But things behind the wall, you're not gonna know if certain things that electrical is wired wrong. So that's where you want to be a little bit more bundled up.
Oh, preach on that. I love that. Say that one more time. And just to be clear, these are things you don't want to skimp out on. For example, there's things that I'll be cheap on, things I won't be. I'm a gun guy. I don't cheap out on guns. I want that gun to work and I want it to be safe. But if we're talking about the lights that I'm using for the studio, they're $30 on Amazon. I didn't care.
There you go.
Where on the remodel do you say it is worth having that, paying the premiums to know it's done right? What are those things, or what are the things that, like you said,
Sure.
That doesn't have to be perfect?
Oh, so foundation.
But like you are like, yeah, I can have a riskier, if you will.
Foundation is something that I pay a little bit more, and because it's so expensive to get a good person, I don't buy houses with a lot of foundation. If it has a little bit, I will. Here's something I pay premium. I pay premium for engineering reports. I pay premium for that. Sometimes we run beams, overhead, and sometimes if I want to ensure that, to let the buyer know that this is done correctly, I will go take it a step further and get an engineering letter proving that it's quality, that it's done correctly. So foundation engineering letters, some things that I'm okay with, man, like trim work, baseboards, doors, door handles. There's so many guys who put in appliances, cabinets. I got like 4 people who can put in cabinets because it's pretty self-explanatory. You know what I mean? It's a little bit harder to mess it up. I don't play around with my painters. I don't play around with that. I don't play around with drywall and having patchy, ugly drywall. Those guys, I don't have the cheapest vendors there, but they are so good. So good and that's just because it's my name on these things. So I gotta make sure it's done the right way. Yeah.
No, I love that. Paying not even for just the foundation repair itself, but getting the engineer report. That's a good one. I haven't heard that. That's a great one to make sure you pay a premium on.
Yes. Oh,
That's
these engineers, they will certify anything, and they're not cheap. So if you want them to come certify anything, they will gladly charge you 700 bucks, 600 bucks to make sure it's good. You got that seal. And then my investors put that in the paperwork to make sure they know, hey, this is good. This is good. You don't have to worry about this being poorly done.
no, and
Because the
certainly,
engineer is vouching for that.
yeah. No, and certainly I've seen foundation bids get clear into the $20,000 range, like 700 bucks to have a seal of approval. It's a drop in the bucket. Spend that extra money. That's great. That is great advice.
Yes.
I love that. Moving into how you find these guys. Like you said, you had your little contractor underground, and you find them, you get them come out the property. When you're working with a vendor, what are you looking for when you're talking with them, or maybe when you're watching them do the work? Is there anything that you're trying to get a beat on that's okay, this is going to be my new drywall guy, this is going to be my new foundation guy? How do you
Well,
discern?
if they're a licensed trade, then it's easy because I'm looking for a master,
Mm.
somebody with insurance. So between those, you're gonna you're gonna cut out 55% of your competition right there. Hey, I'm letting you know I need insurance, and I'm looking for a master. So just between that, and then you throw in a word of mouth from that. If you can get a word of mouth, master, licensed, insured, word of mouth, you're about eight. I say you're about 80% there. And then the other stuff is cream. I'm like the personality, the drive, the person who shows up on time. Because you can have all those good things, but still not have the professional side. That's happened many times as well. So that's what you're looking for first off. And you said, how am I finding? How do I go
Well,
about
how do
finding
you
them?
determine that these are good? And I'll give you a hint.
Oh,
You mentioned it in the green room when we were talking.
and then the second thing that I'm looking for, we take it a step further. I'm like, show me your work. Do you have a project right now? Let me go see it. So we take it a step further. We don't just take your word for it. Let me see what you've done, and if you preferably have something current that I can stop in on, is something we try to do to make sure we get what we need.
And there was something you said in the green room that was really profound to me, which was I want the contractor who is out there on the roof swinging the hammers or looking over the entire project. You don't want the guy who is on the ground writing you a bid, giving you a ticket, and then he's on to the next property. You want whoever you are dealing with is the person who is swinging the hammer or overseeing the whole project.
Yeah, you have managers and you have specialists. And it's okay for a manager to not, because this guy could have been doing roofs for 20 years. But what we are looking for is, are they really staying tapped into how the work is done? And is it done correctly? And some of these jobs require more than one person. But if you tell me I had to choose, I'm always going to lean towards a vendor who the owner of the company, who has their name on the shirt, is actually doing the work, because that's their name, their livelihood. And so that is always a preferred thing, because sometimes these guys expand and then the help they bring in is not as good as they are. And so if they're not doing the work, that's still okay. You just want to make sure that they're vetting and they're overlooking their assistants' work to make sure it's the same quality.
Yeah. No, that's really great. Someone who's real hands-on and a specialist. They're not a generalist like me, who my attitude's very much like good enough. But
No, don't feel bad about that. Honestly, there's a book called Range I read, and it's talking about we're in the age of the generalists, in the sense of the specialists are the ones getting outsourced. The generalists who can do 2, 3 core things, they're in hot come out, they're in demand. They're the people who are wanted right now. So don't feel bad about that at all. That's where we're at in this world right now.
no, all right, good. My job's safe for a little bit longer. That's good.
Yes, yes.
That's good. So we've talked about how you're finding some of these vendors and vetting them, et cetera. And you've got a few projects going on right now. Tell us a little bit more about who you're doing the work for. Are you working with some people that are doing flips on homes? How are they underwriting the deals? Let's get into a little bit more of that discussion.
Of how, one more time, of how
So you're working
we're
with flippers. Where's the opportunity that they're finding? Are you having a lot of projects come up in East Austin, North Austin? Where's the opportunity?
So they're kind of hot pockets where they're older houses, but not too old, like not in the 50s where you have to run a lot of rewire and plumbing, cast iron and aluminum wiring and things like that. So there's certain pockets in Austin where you see just good older houses in the 70s and the 80s, and that's where I'm seeing a lot of activity. We're still in a market to where it's still a lot of inventory right now. Still a lot more than it used to be. So you still have to buy smart. You still have to worry about location, schools, the lot, if it backs up to a noisy street, because buyers have a lot of choice right now. So I always tell my investors, and this is the tricky thing, sometimes my investors are buying properties in not good areas where I'm like, I don't know if I would have bought that. Sometimes that's tricky, but I don't have any say so on that. But I would always tell my guys, my buyers to try to look for good schools, try to look for stuff post 72, 73. So you know you got some, get rid of that cast iron. And look for just a standard 3 2s, 1,500 feet or higher that can house a family. You can get a 4 bedroom if possible, that's great. That's more likely to ensure your success as opposed to small 3-1 single car garage type things like that, or just more risky.
Yeah, no, and with all the inventory on the market and the choice, like you said, that's becoming a lot tougher. It's funny that you mention backing up to a noisy street. That used to not be the case. It didn't matter. But you
And
look at the person
it
now
didn't,
that has said that verbatim of that absolutely, if don't buy a home on a main artery, you want to be like a block or two off.
it'll kill your deal. Totally kill your deal. If the street is busy and they care about their kids and their kids want to play outside, they're not going to buy your house.
No.
They're not. They're not. Unless they maybe have older kids, but even in the road noise. If you're like me, I'm a light sleeper. That'll wake me up.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. What is the cost of having peaceful sleep?
Yeah, that's tough that's tough to
What a price.
put a
Yeah.
price on that. And man, that's must be why mattresses are so damn expensive. They get to always flex that. You spend 1/3 of your life sleeping. It's worth the investment. Knock out, get a good sleep.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
No. Now, Chris, I want to talk to you a little bit more before we close out about what in this Austin market and what it's going to do here in the future. Like you said, there's some hot pockets right now, but all of Austin isn't hot, and we've seen a major cool down. You and I have both felt that.
Sure.
What are you seeing? What was true in the hot market that isn't true now? But and what are where are you seeing the opportunity in buying and holding residential real estate here in Austin?
At one point in time, the inventory was so low that you didn't have to be overly smart to win. You didn't have to really strategize and plan. And certain things that sold at that time just won't move right now. On the retail side, buyers are moving more towards the suburbs because of the higher interest rates. And the higher interest rates kept people and pushed people towards new construction because they had the closing cost and they were offering 3-2-1 buy downs. Okay. And so the regular people selling their house with a 2020 finish, 2005 to 2010, those houses sat because they were competing with new builds with a lower interest rate. And the houses weren't bad, they just weren't new. You know what I mean? Those middle grade houses were just lived in, but they didn't have maybe an open floor concept. They didn't have the white paint. They may have the beige that they were doing back in the early 2000s. So those were sitting in terms of retail. Now, still, you still have to buy smart in terms of if you're going to hold. You definitely got to prioritize things that the buyers want now. Good schools, functionality, open floor concepts are important. And those things will remain true whatever market it is. So you just want to focus on those things that increases your chances of winning. Don't take any unnecessary risks that you don't have to right now because we're just not in that market right now. In terms of flipping and things like that, we still see a lot of opportunity central, all sides of central, north, east, south, central. If you can get some closer to downtown, you're gonna increase your chances because some people, not me, but some people just want to be in the scene and closer. Some people don't like driving in that traffic. So I do get that. And so you're always gonna have opportunities there. And a lot of people are doing now these ADU plays from the back. You can get 3 units in sometimes. So some people are doing that as well. But I would just say stick to the basics. Good school, good size house, no crazy streets, no power lines, nothing like that. And then if you're holding, man, hold for 5 years. Hold that thing.
Yeah.
Hold that thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then you know what? A lot of buyers don't understand, man. If you see those things sitting there, negotiate that thing down. Come in 20,000 less, 25. Come in 30K less to try to get it at 15 than where you really wanted it.
Certainly when you're dealing with agents, 100%. You don't have to pay that price.
You don't have to. But they don't think you can do that. Like, really, can I really come in 30,000? I'm like, yes. Yes, you can. You never know. Network taught me that, man. Send the offer. Send the offer.
The worst they can say is no. And you're like, that is literally the worst.
And you just adjust from there. What are they going to do? They're not going to block you. They're going to be a little ticked off maybe, but like how you word it. Hey, we call it the bacon sizzle. Look, my client, he's one of those guys with the deal. Hit them with the bacon sizzle, and then you can always counter and come up on y'all.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I like that. The bacon sizzle.
The bacon sizzle.
No.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's really good. Man, I wanted to, you said something there that I really liked. When are you dealing with people that are are struggling renting or selling their house, and you come in and you're like, oh man, you just need to get rid of this paint. That's what's holding this up. What are you seeing that is holding up renting or selling a house right now that can be fixed? Oh, just knock down the wall. That's not that expensive. Let's just do that.
Man, honestly, floors and paint can be a godsend to making your house look more appealing. Because sometimes between the floors and the paint, and it's really dark, it just really doesn't lend itself to an aesthetically pleasing picture. And so if you have light oak floors, is what's nice right now with regular white paint can totally change the aspect of a house. So if you have a house and it's maybe needs, if I had to prioritize things that would really make a big difference, I would say floors and paint. My girlfriend, we're about to sell her house and move in together, and she had, I kid you not, 4 different colors on the walls. So when we move in together this summer, I'm gonna have to paint that thing one color that everybody may not like. We need to have it neutral. And right now, I like to say white and bright is what's in right now. White and bright, modern, open floor concept, and light.
Yeah, white and bright. And are you seeing, is it like on the hardware? I noticed that on some of that is darker complected. Is that more in? That was in, I remember 2 years ago I was having a conversation and saying you need dark accents and bright everything else. Is that still the case?
Contrast is still good, man. I don't mind. Now, I'm not as tapped in. I have a designer for that because, man, that stuff rotates and cycles, and I'm not a pro at that. And my designer makes me look good, honestly. She makes me look good. But yeah, those things, contrast, and it's just always been aesthetically pleasing. Certain colors and color palettes match well. I love my green and golds. I love my navy and golds, navy and silver on cabinets. Those things are just tried and true. And certain things like grays used to be in really heavy. We phased out. Now the browns are in, the oaks are back. So you'll see way more oak cabinets than you used to. So that stuff is back. They got rid of shaker cabinets. Now they're doing European style cabinets, which are the flat without the box in it. That stuff just cycles, man. It cycles around all the time.
And if you're keeping up with it, say you're a buy and hold investor and you're just doing little things, just every turnover or something like that, you can avoid a lot of okay, this place is not renting and now I need to spend 15 grand to get this place looking right, rather than doing just a little itty bitty thing as you go.
Yeah.
For to keep the property nice in comparison to what the market's doing. Lastly, before we get out of here, what is the place where you are going to tell people to if you're going to remodel a house, or where you need to spend your money? It's been kitchens and master bathrooms has been the words of wisdom since I got in. Where are you seeing, is that still tried and true? Where are you seeing people are, if you are going to spend money on the home, this is where you're going to need to fork up some coin?
Floors, I would probably say maybe number one, because some people may be able to paint themselves, maybe. But floors, especially if they're dark, it literally, you can charge more. You can get a premium on a rent. It's less headache. Or if you're selling, you're gonna get more money in that way. I do see houses sitting with carpet, unless it's a 2-bedroom, have upstairs. But that's a real thing. So I would say floors would be my number one. Paint would be number two. And then if you can do some kitchen, that would probably be number three for sure. Kitchen cabinets.
Yeah.
Kitchen.
No, because I know there's a lot of those that builder grade level, like you said, those properties that were built in the 2000 range that have those builder grade countertops and or in just cabinets wall to wall, and those are the ones that need to start getting phased out because it's 20 years
Those are the
old.
ones that are sitting. Man, they can love the house. They can love the house, but they're like, man, that kitchen, I just don't like it. It happens all the time. I see it. And so cabinets, shaker cabinets, not those MDF cabinets, but some good solid cabinets is another thing. And if sometimes they don't have those countertops, you may have good countertops but bad cabinets, old cabinets. So you just need to swap those out.
Yeah.
So I would say that sometimes stainless steel appliances is another go. If you have the white dishwasher and the white fridge,
Yeah.
I can see that. And with some of my leases, it's amazing to me how much I see people try to get away with not putting a fridge in a rental and then wonder why it sits. And I'm like, this is not 2021. There's so much inventory. And they're not going to tell you this is why I'm not going to rent you. They're just going to move on.
They can't hardly articulate it themselves, but yes.
I don't know why that's so hard. Put a fridge in your rental property. People don't just have extra. I've leased a couple and I'm surprised. And I'm like, why do you have an extra fridge? I'm used to, like, I have a washer dryer, but
Yeah, a
have a
lot of
fridge?
people have that. That's what I tell them. The refrigerator's got to stay. Washer and dryer, you can go either way on, but
A lot of people don't expect to necessarily have that. So that's a common thing I surprisingly have to tell some of my guys, people with renters. Put a fridge in there, please. Thanks.
seriously, it's probably $1,000 if you're going on the sexiest trim ever.
Yes.
It's
And what's your opportunity cost from your house in 2-3 months?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Put the fridge in there, get it right. If you find a good set, you can get you a good set on Facebook. You don't have to get just the nicest set. You can get some top loaders if you want to, but don't compromise on the fridge. Don't
no.
compromise on it.
Chris, this has been fantastic. If someone wanted to get a hold of you and ask you about a flip or ask you a few more questions on your business, how would they get a hold of you?
You can just find me on my website, arrowmarkhomes.com. That's arrow, like arrowhead, homes, arrowmark, arrowmark, MARK, homes.com. So you can find me there. I got a contact form, got some pictures of my work. And if you're interested in contacting me, wanting me to check out your project, you can reach me. You can reach me there.
That's fantastic. Chris, thank you again so much for being on the podcast with me. This is Tom Stout with Prime Properties. We'll see you next time. Cheers. And stop.